So I've been asked to play a named character or an NPC for the upcoming LARP event in Vegas, Darkness Emergent. So I thought I would share with you the process of breaking down this NPC so I can roleplay him. I'm trying to figure out this guy's personality, how to make this character my own, and how do I engage the people I roleplay with. And so for those who want to know more about this Vampire the Masquerade event in Vegas, go to darknessemergent.com. But let's get started. So this character is Dr. Vermundo de Sancha, which is such an epic sounding name. And I like to take the character name and break it down because sometimes when I play LARP characters, I always name them after qualities that I want. So Vermundo is Latin for the Germanic word for holy protector. I'm like, okay, that gives me an idea. And Sancha is slang in Mexican for side piece or the mistress. Oh, okay. He's a doctor, so being Asian, my relatives would be proud. So the great part about being a doctor is that he has a profession and he has a status. So that means I'm going to have roleplay hooks with people with a medical background or people with that kind of influence. Oh, okay. I see why they cast me because I kind of look like this dude. Let's see if I could do a little side and just pout. Oh, he's Sabbat. Oh, okay. So, spoiler, okay if you know, because this is going to be relevant. So, the Doctor has defected from the Sabbat and turned Anarch for this particular event. And he's now a resident in Vegas. Which doesn't mean anything to you if you don't know what's going on. So, let me explain what is happening in this event. So the reason why this event is taking place in Vegas is because of an earlier event. The Camarilla and the Anarchs worked out a deal where the Camarilla would give Anarchs control of Vegas in exchange for someone on Camarilla's red list. The Camarilla's red list is the equivalent of the FBI's most wanted, which in my brain, you're trading control of an entire city for this one guy. Okay. Vampires be vampires. The Anarchs now control Vegas. So for the past 6 months, there's been a migration of people from all over to come into Vegas, and it's also Vegas, so anything can happen. It's part of their charm. So now they're gonna have a party, but the Camarilla is also there to make sure the masquerade is still enforced. So coming back to this wiki, I now have to figure out what happened. Why would Dr. de Sancha have left the Sabbat for the Anarch movement? So looking at the wiki, he is a professor at a medical university in Mexico. He was kept as a ghoul to learn more about modern medicine. Oh, all right. It looks like he broke his sanity performing unnecessary procedures and giving lectures to animals. So I like to take details like that and hone in on it. Now, having played Malkavians, including playing Ezra Knox for the audio drama Port Saga, neuroses don't come from nowhere. And behaviors are adaptations for stress and trauma. So it helps if I can imagine the reason why Vermundo would do that. So if you are giving unnecessary medical procedures, maybe he's always looking for something wrong in people or always assuming that something is wrong. And we know he was giving lectures to animals, and we know he was a teacher in a medical school. He probably missed human connection. And with animals, we assume animals just don't have judgment, at least less judgment than other humans. So this kind of tells me that maybe there's a little bit more compassion in him to the point that he was broken. And now we have this section of the wiki that says, Sortano had hoped that the Doctor would explore the path of metamorphosis and expand his research, but after his induction into the Sabbat and a time of reflection, that was not the enlightenment de Sancha felt was his calling. He found the path of death and the soul aligned with his work. He spends his nights in a quest to understand how pain affects the minds of his mortal and vampiric subjects. So let's decode this. Path of meth. Not path of meth. Oh my goodness. Path of metamorphosis was a morality path that is practiced by Clan Samisi, which we know that de Sancha is. But that path is too inhumane for him. And path of death and the soul is specifically a study of pain, life, and death. So let's define even more morality path. So a morality path prevents a vampire from becoming an unthinking, soulless monster hell-bent on destroying everything. It is, in other words, it prevents vampires from becoming the beast. In human terms, it's like a philosophy or faith that keeps you going when things are hard. And Path of Death in the Soul, looking at the tenets of it, the description of it is pretty cold. And I think that's a very Western look at this path. Going on a tangent here, there was a story about a man in Asia who fell to his death landing in front of a monk and his listeners. And the monk didn't say, let's move away and give him his respects. He urged everyone to stay near this person who just died to show respect for him and understand that this is part of the process. And for the people who were uncomfortable, he didn't say, this is okay. He just allowed them to sit with that discomfort. And that requires a huge amount of compassion and not coldness. So that's the view that I'm going to take with Dr. DeSancha. He's not in Path of Death of the Soul because he doesn't feel anything. It's because he knows that's an organic part of life. The reason why I also want to embrace this is because even though we're all playing vampires, you know, sexy, cool, unveiling, this is a LARP event and I want to lean more towards roleplay access rather than inaccessible because that's what my character would do. Also, aloof does not really translate to cool in a social environment like a LARP. In movies and books, it does, but not in a LARP. It also isolates you and you won't have as much of a fun time. So let's migrate more towards interactive roleplay. And the last part of the wiki says, DeSancha is very dedicated to his duties as a doctor. People that enter his lab willingly can expect to leave healthy and whole. And since a doctor thinks of them as patients that are his wards under the Hippocratic Oath, he frowns on the excessive alterations that some of his clan members undertake, preferring to present himself without any flesh-crafted features. So that tells me he has flesh-crafting or vicissitude, but doesn't practice it. Along with his sire, he hosts Universidad de Noche, a forum for scientific, interested vampires that accepts guest hearers. So, this is the most non-Sabbat character. Makes sense why he defected to the Anarch. I also just looked up this character on Reddit, and there is a tile that literally says, are there any good Tzimisce out there as in a moral perspective? And his name actually comes at the top of the list. So, really interesting character so far. Some key things, he believes in the Hippocratic Oath. And so some tenets of the Hippocratic Oath are, aside from helping people heal, minimize suffering, be non-judgmental, and improve public health. So it confirms being compassionate. And when you look at a good bio, all of these different elements in that bio should make sense to create a consistent character. One other thing, okay, I'm letting you know this, that this is one of his goals, is to reestablish the Universidad de Noche. So there is so much potential roleplay that can happen for kindred scientists and academics, and it's an interesting niche for the right players. If you go to the website Darkness Emergent, there are some plot threads that can get you introduced into the event. So if you're a little worried about dealing with a whole bunch of people and you're not sure how to align yourself, there are some factions and there are some plot threads. One particular plot thread I thought was interesting is the hook urban planning. If you want to see what I think is going to be the most clue-giving plot, it especially might hint at what my character might be doing. That is how I break down a canon character for roleplay. You could also apply this to any NPC or story character in a LARP if you have that bio. Thanks for nerding out to LARP characters with me. If you end up at Darkness Emergent, please say hi. Come LARP with me. Come LARP with me.